In today's video, I'm going to share with you the most important books that I'm taking with me to Portugal that I can't leave behind. I can't get rid of, I can't sell, I can't donate. I'm taking them with me. I have to. Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jim. I am a lawyer / YouTube entrepreneur, and I work with small businesses to help them to start, build, grow, and yes, of course, legally protect their online business. And today I want to share with you that I am moving to Portugal. And as a result of moving to Portugal in about 2.5 months, which is ridiculous to say, we are cleaning out our entire house. And that means that I have to get rid of a lot of books. And many of you have asked me, because in past videos I've had my bookshelves behind me, what do you got on those bookshelves? That looks like a really great book collection. What do you have? And so you can kind of see it here. I've got my bookshelf there. And I am getting rid of a lot of books. I've got to decide, what books am I going to donate, what books am I going to trash, and what books am I going to keep? And I came up with a bunch of books here that I'm going to walk through today and share with you why as I drop them all, why I'm keeping them or why I am, well, these are all the ones I'm keeping. So I'm not going to go through the ones I'm not keeping out of respect for the authors there. But let me just go through these. Let's see. I got to come up with an order to this. I've got 14 books here that I've decided are gonna make the trip with me. I mean, I had hundreds of books. This is really hard, and I will say this doesn't count all the books that are on my Kindle, because obviously they're on my Kindle. I can't really share them. There's a lot of great books that I've read on Kindle. There's also a lot of great books that I've read on Audible that I also can't share because they're on Audible, but those are obviously all coming with me because they're electronic. But these are the physical books that I can't part with. I can't part with. Back when I first started my business back in 2005 or so, I started collecting business and marketing books, reading as many as I could. I would go to Borders and I'd just pick up like 3 or 4 books, and they all became really part of my bookshelf. And I've already dumped so many of them. I donated a lot. I've sold some to used bookstores. I've gotten rid of a lot of them. And so now I'm down to these 14. I mean, I've got 5 more over here that I'm not even going to get into, but these are the ones. And this was really sparked by Marie Kondo's Tidying Up book, where she talks about getting rid of books and decluttering. And this is really important. Ironically, I can't find that book. I think I donated it. Sorry, Marie. Anyway, you have to hold the book and say, is this a book that sparks joy? And if it's not, you have to donate it. And if it is, you keep it and put it back on the shelf where it rightfully belongs. Let's go through these, and I'm gonna start with some of the less important books and work my way up to the more important books. I'm also gonna share with you kind of why I wanna keep the book, other than the fact that it sparks joy. So the first book I've got is A Factory of One by Daniel Markowitz. And this book is all about applying lean principles to basically improve your personal performance. And I read this book, it's been a while. But the reason I'm keeping this book, other than the fact that it's a really great book, is it does not exist in Kindle form, and it's kind of hard to get. And when I move to Portugal, I'm not going to be able to get it. And it's one of those books I like to refer back to. He's got a lot of really great charts and other things in here that you can refer to. For example, where is it? There's one in particular. So there's this chart that he's got about managing workflow there. And it's just, there's things in here that are just really helpful as an online business owner who is really a factory of one in myself. I've got a virtual assistant and an integrator, but other than that, it's just me. And there's a lot of principles in this book that I use that help me on a day-to-day basis, and I refer back to this book quite a bit, so highly recommend it. And by the way, I'll include links down below to all these books. So A Factory of One, that's the first book. The second book I'm gonna go to, again, not available on Kindle. Also incredibly valuable because this book is not in print anymore, but it's called Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. And this is like the granddaddy of all advertising books. I refer back to this book a lot. I have yet to read all the way through it, but at the same time, it's one of those books, it's incredibly valuable. This book alone is probably worth I could probably sell this on Amazon right now for $200 if I wanted to, because it's not in print anymore. I had to actually order it directly from the copywriter, I believe. Anyway, Incredibly valuable book, incredibly informative book, and shares a lot of golden nuggets when it comes to advertising and marketing. And since that's a large part of what I do, this book is going with me. This next book, again, I don't think it's available on Kindle. Also very instrumental in my business and building my business. It's The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan Kennedy. And this book provides basically an outline of how to write a really good sales letter. And even though this book was written, it had to be back in the 90s. Let's see, what's the copyright in this? 2006. So this book has helped me to craft sales letters and that I've used on my website. Now, this was written with the intent of mailing direct response sales letters. I've used this to build pages on my website. Great book, 3rd edition. There's probably a 4th by now. But by Dan Kennedy, The Ultimate Sales Letter. So that one's coming with me. What else do we got? The rest of the books here are probably, most of them are available on Kindle, so I don't need to keep the hard copy, but I'm keeping them because I want to. Honestly, I like to refer back to them. Profit First. This is an older version of the book. I think that he's updated the cover at this point, but obviously I've talked about this book a number of times on the channel. I've talked about how important it is to me. I like to refer back to it occasionally, but honestly, I've read it so many times, I probably read it once a year, that a lot of the concepts are pretty much stuck in my head. But it's one of those books that I just like to have, I like to refer back to. So Profit First is sticking with me. That's number 4. Okay, this is a great reference book that I use. In fact, I've been working on an online course, and I actually use this as kind of the basis for some of the materials I teach in that online course that I'm finishing up right now. And that is Ask by Ryan Levesque. I'm pretty sure this book is available on Kindle. It's a little bit dated now. Some of the technology that he talks about in here is a little bit older. It's still a great book if you're thinking about launching and building some sort of product and you're not sure kind of what product to use. This, and Ask, Ryan gives a methodology that he uses to go out and survey the market and figure out what the market needs and what the market wants so that you can create a product to fill that need. I've used this. I use this to launch my own online courses. I teach my students how to use these principles to launch their online courses. And this is just a really great book. So Ask by Ryan Levesque, coming with me. And again, this is a book that even though I've got it on, I could get it on Kindle, and I think I actually do have it on Kindle. I like having the physical copy to refer back to and just pull off the shelf and read, and sometimes that's nice. This book, this is actually the second copy of this book. I gave one copy of it away a while back, the copy that I had all my notes in. Anyway, this book is called The One Thing by Gary Keller, and this book talks about, the basic principle here is what is the one thing that you need to do that will help you move forward, whether that be, what is the one thing you need to do to reach your goals 5 years from now? What's the one thing you need to do to reach your goals a year from now, a month from now, a week from now, a day? What's the one thing you need to do in the next hour to reach your goals today? This is another one I need to go back and reread because it's been a couple years since I read it. Basically, the idea being that if you can distill everything that you have to do down to the most important thing and you do that, then you're much more likely to hit your goals. A fabulous, fabulous book. Highly recommend it, by Gary Keller. Okay, we're gonna go with this one. I read this book about once a year at the beginning of each year, and this is great because it helps you to do the things that you need to do to hit your goals that you want to hit each year, and that is Your Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt. So this is just a really helpful book to go through and apply the principles that he talks about to help you reach your goals each and every year. And he talks about goal setting. He talks about what your beliefs are for what you can do. He talks about looking at what you've done in the past to help that shape what you're going to do moving forward. He talks about finding your why and making sure that you have the proper motivations for why it is that you're doing what you're doing. And so it's just a really good book. And so I'm going to take this one with me too. Great book to have on the shelf to remind me that I need to be working forward. Okay, I think I need some coffee. Today we're going with the Need My Space mug, one of my all-time faves. This is obviously coming with me. I might have to do an episode here where I talk about all my coffee mugs, which ones are gonna come with me to Portugal and which ones aren't. I've got a huge collection of them. I should show you sometime. I love this one. I should also say, I'm a bit partial to this mug because I got this mug when I was at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, and that was a trip that I did with my mom when she came down to visit me down in Florida. She's since passed away. And so not only do I like this mug because I just think it's a really funny pun, I need my space, but I also like it because it reminds me of my mom. So this book might not make it, I'll be honest with you, but I'm gonna pull it out anyway because it's a good workbook. We'll see, to be determined. It's called What's Your Story by Margo Lightman. And it's basically a workbook. It's not a book as much as it's a workbook that where you, I don't know if you can see, you can write your own stories in here. It's I'm not a big hand writer, number one, which is part of the problem with keeping this book because this is meant to write things out in hand. But basically this book helps you to uncover the stories in your life that are going to be interesting that you can use in your business, in your presentations, in your YouTube videos. It's a good book. It's a good workbook. I might take notes on the process here, leave the book behind, and then add the notes to my Notion template and keep track of things that way. I just like to type better than I like writing. Some people, you know, they love writing things out and this would be perfect for them. That's not necessarily me. So we're going to put this in the not sure yet pile. Traction. If you are not familiar with traction is basically the it's the EOS operating system. EOS, since it's the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS. I think that's kind of redundant. Anyway, it's the EOS system of basically operating your business. Now, mind you, this is for businesses that are at a higher level than where I'm at now. You're typically looking from several $1 million in revenue up to 10, 20, 50, $100 million in revenue, where you have a number of people. I mean, they've even got in here all the people that are working in the business. Although he does have year one, 4 people, $500,000 in revenue, right there. That's not far off from where I'm at. And basically what you've got there is you've got somebody, the visionary, the integrator. I've got both those roles filled. We've got sales, marketing, operations, and finance. So, I mean, yeah, it's possible that I can implement this right away in my business. And a lot of people I know who are at that $500,000 to $1 million to $2 million range are implementing the principles from Traction into their business. But this is basically the handbook for how to implement those EOS principles into your business. So we're talking about the rocks, we're talking about the weekly and quarterly meetings, we're talking about the goal setting and all those things that goes into creating an operating system for how your business is going to be run. It talks about the differences between the integrator and the visionary and how those pieces work together. So this is another one of those books that I've read, I have on the shelf to refer back to, and I've been working through some of the exercises with it as I'm continuing to plan out what my business is going to look like in the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. So Traction by Gino Wickman, one of those books that I would highly recommend. This next one is actually 2 books, and I'm taking them with me because honestly, I'm a YouTuber, and these are probably 2 of the best books on how to build and grow a YouTube channel. And I've talked about them before. I've talked about at least the one book, Sean's book. But the first book is YouTube Secrets by Sean Cannell and Benji Travis. And then the second book is The YouTube Formula by Daryl Eves. These are both amazing books. If you're thinking about building and growing a YouTube channel, I highly recommend you pick up each one of these books and read them cover to cover. They know what they're talking about. I've used these books in my practice in building my channel, and they've been very, very helpful. The problem with books like this, some of the ideas, and I'd have to go back and review them, as the algorithm changes and the platform itself changes, the ideas can be can become stale. I believe that a lot of the things that Sean and Benji and Daryl talk about in these books are almost evergreen, so they're still going to be just as relevant in 2 or 3 years from now as they were when those books were published. Highly recommend both of these. They're going with me to Portugal. They're going to stay on my shelf, and I refer back to them as I am building my online business. 2 more books, actually 3 books I've got, but 2 by one author and then another one. This book is, I'm taking it with me because as a lawyer, I've used it a lot. And in negotiating, and I've read it several times. It's called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I'll be honest, this is a book that as I'm moving to Portugal may become less relevant. And I say that because the cultural differences between the way we work in the United States and the way people work in Portugal, not to mention the language barrier, it's gonna be a little bit different. But if you are trying to learn how to negotiate better, and you whether it's for a job promotion, whether it's because you're buying a house, whether it's because you're a lawyer and you negotiate on behalf of your clients, whether it's because you're going to buy a car, whatever it might be, this book is going to help you learn how to negotiate better in your business and your life. And he provides tactics that are just, they're evergreen, they're timeless, and they're wonderful. And I refer back to this book a lot. I refer back to it even more when I was doing a lot of day-to-day negotiating on behalf of my clients. I don't do that as much anymore. Never Split the Difference by Chris Foss is a wonderful book. Definitely going with me and staying on my shelf. All right, I left the last two for the best for last. And actually there's one more I'm gonna pull off the shelf that kind of goes along with these. And each of these books I try to read at least once a year. Doesn't always happen, I'll be honest, but I try. The first book is Permission Marketing by Seth Godin. This was the book that I first got. I mean, what's the copyright on this is 1999? Yeah, 1999 is the copyright. So this is an old book, but this is a book that first taught me about permission marketing and how I could use it to build and grow my business. Anyone who's used lead magnets in their business, anyone who has used any type of opt-in to get people to subscribe to their email list, that all started because of Seth and this book. It's just an amazing book. It's kind of one of those ones that I think is just always gonna have a special place in my heart. When going back to what I talked about at the beginning, Marie Kondo, does this book spark joy? This book sparks a lot of joy for me. It's made me millions of dollars over the years, the ideas in this book. So definitely coming with me. And there's two other books that go along with it that I read around the same time that I read that book for the first time. The first one is Purple Cow. Obviously, these are all by Seth Godin. Purple Cow basically talks about how to build an amazing business by being remarkable, by not being like everybody else. That's the general idea. You want to be a purple cow, because people will, if you're driving by a pasture, you see a lot of black and white cows, but if you were to see a purple cow, you'd probably turn your head and be like, wait a minute, there's a purple cow there. I need to pay attention to that. And that's basically the idea of this book, is you want to be a purple cow in your marketplace. You want to be different than everybody else. And again, this is a really small book, easy read, 100 or so pages, short little snippets, great book, one to keep. And then this one, I read this book probably whenever I'm really struggling, whenever I'm struggling with a business idea or struggling with my business isn't quite doing what I want it to. I read this book, and it's called The Dip by Seth Godin. And this book talks about how to know when to quit and when to keep going. Because whenever we're working in business, you're gonna reach that point where, things just suck. Like you're not getting the sales that you need, and you're just wondering if you're doing things, if you're on the right path or not. Well, this book talks about how to know when to quit or when to stick. And so definitely a good book that I would hold around. It's going back on my shelf, basically. Keeping that one, and that should be, that's 14. That's 14 books, I think, that I just went through. So those are the books that are sticking with me as I go to Portugal. And if you like this video and you'd like to see more videos about what I'm up to from a business perspective and how I'm growing my business and how you can grow your business and how to legally protect your business, check out this playlist I created right here that's gonna walk you through some of the other things we're doing. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.